Hello and good evening. It is a Wednesday, but I won't say another Wednesday because this is like no other Wednesday. What? With students of Government Science College in Kagara, Niger State, some of their teachers with family members in captivity. That is what we will open with. Of course, the Federal Executive Council met today and some roads will be better for it. On the package tonight, it's the usual business news, stories on agriculture, the Shasha crisis, peace and peaceful coexistence, plus health. Now, that is a brief outline of what we have in stock for you. Let me not talk much now. My heart, like yours, is very heavy. Let us just get on it. The business of today. I mean, after all, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. I am Fatima Umar, and this is News Extra. You're welcome. The Niger state government says it will implore all options except paying ransom to free all those in captivity, including the students and staff of Government Science College, Kagara, in Rafi local government area. Governor Abubakar Sani Bello, who stated this at a press briefing, however, disclosed that a student of the Government Science College, Kagara, lost his life during the abduction. Mukhtar Abubakar reports.
Governor Abubakar Sani Bello, who acknowledged that it is a trying period for the state and indeed Nigeria, solicits the support of the federal government in rescuing those in captivity.
Another incident occurred today, Wednesday, the 17th, 2021, at about 2 a.m. at Government Science College, Kagara, where 27 students, 3 staff, and 12 members of their families were kidnapped. Unfortunately, one student was shot dead. We are deeply concerned at these recent sad events and therefore call on the federal government to deploy all resources while we are looking at all options, both kinetic and non-kinetic, to ensure the safe return of victims of both incidences.
The governor ordered the closure of all boarding schools in Munya, Mariga, Rafi, and Shiroro local government areas of the state until further notice.
We will not rest or sleep until we bring them back to their families. We are therefore appealing to all Nigerians to continue to pray for the safe return of our wives, fathers, daughters, sons. We need the understanding and cooperation of Nigerians at these trying moments to unanimously condemn all acts of criminality, banditry, and kidnapping with one voice.
Meanwhile, the federal government delegation comprising of the National Security Advisor Babagana Munguno, the Inspector General of Police Muhammad Adamu, the Minister of Information and Culture Alhaji Lai Mohammed, and that of the Interior arrived Niger State Government House Mina in response to the kidnapping of the students and others at the Government Science College Kagara. In Mina, Mukhtar Abubakar, NTA News.
In the meantime, President Muhammad Buhari has received reports of the brazen attack on Government Science College, Kagara, Rafi local government area of Niger State, of which about 27 staff and students were abducted by gunmen. Following these reports, the President has directed the armed forces and police to ensure immediate and safe return of all the captives. The President has also dispatched to Bina, Niger State, a team of security chiefs to coordinate the rescue operation and meet with state officials, community leaders, as well as parents and staff of the college. President Buhari assures Nigerians of the support of his administration to the armed forces in their brave struggle against terrorism and banditry, and urged them to do all that can be done to bring an end to this menace and avoid such cowardly attacks on schools in the future. And more condemnations are trailing the abduction of the Government Science College Gagara. The Northern Governors Forum, in its message, says members are distressed by the spate of attacks and abductions of students, and in this case, staff and members of their families. The forum notes that the incident is another attempt to deprive Niger State and the North of the efforts to overcome illiteracy and poverty. The statement further says Northern governors will collectively work in solidarity with their Niger State counterpart to swiftly defeat insecurity. Similarly, the Minister of Women Affairs, Pauline Talon, has also condemned the abduction at Gagara Government Science School. In a statement, the minister, as a mother, is asking the abductors to have the fear of God and exercise compassion by releasing the young Nigerians. She urged parents of the abducted students to remain calm and allow government to come to the rescue of those abducted. Meanwhile, the Niger State Governor, Abubakar Sani Bello, says his priority is to ensure the safe release of the students and other people under the custody of kidnappers. He spoke to NTA while on the spot assessment of the GSS Gagara. Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara monitored the conversation.
Not only this case, but we had other cases, especially in Shuloro local government, Mariga local government, Munya. We lost some vigilantes yesterday in Munya, and Rafi local government, which is this very local government. This local government has been under attack by bandits for quite a while now, but this is more emotional.
It is indeed one incident too many, and Governor Abubakar Sani Bello unveiled his next line of action.
And like I said, I'm hoping to see the president later tonight to discuss in details some of these issues and what I think we need to do. But first of all, we need to bring everyone back home safely. So there will be our immediate priority and objective right now is to bring everyone back home.
In addition, Governor Sani Bello promised to review the security architecture of Niger State.
Considering the fact that Niger State is the largest state in Nigeria, so it is difficult for us to patrol the entire landscape. We have huge forest reserves. We are monitoring the situation carefully. I'm very hopeful that all the victims will be released. At the moment, there's a motion in place that is going on, and hopefully we should hear some good news.
The governor assured that part of the immediate strategy to stop the menace is to ensure that everyone is involved in government programs and activities. Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara, NTA News.
Thank you so much, Salihu Abdullahi. And for more updates on the abductors, we have in Gagara my colleague Abdullahi Mohammed. And Abdullahi Mohammed, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Good evening, Fatima. I can hear you clearly.
Okay, can you just tell us what is happening now? Like an insight, an update of what is going on presently.
Normally ends their normal activities by between 9 and 10 o'clock. That is the decision of the local government. Once it is 10 o'clock, everybody has to go into their houses, and then subsequently the security agencies take over patrol of the community. Here I have an indigene of Kagara who I would like to introduce to you so that at least he'll be able to tell his experience right from this early this morning when these school children.
Well, we apologize for the poor network. Abdullah, if you can hear me, we'll sure get back to you to hear what the man is going to say, his experience and all of that. But for now, let's move on. President Muhammadu Buhari has assured that all necessary measures have been energized to ensure the safe release of the abducted government science college students, some staff and members of their families. This was contained in a message of comfort by members of a high-powered federal government delegation led by the Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed to Niger State. And Anthony Forson has that.
The federal government delegation were in Niger State to assure the citizens and government of being conscious of its responsibility of securing lives and property in the country.
We are very glad at what we have witnessed when we came, and the fact that the governor with his cabinet is actually exploring both kinetic and non-kinetic approaches to ensure the safe release of all the victims.
The federal government further said it will adopt all possible strategies to ensure the release of those in captivity.
The government will not surrender its sovereignty, while at the same time will clearly adopt all means possible to ensure the safe release of these victims.
The Inspector General of Police, Muhammad Abakar Adamu, and National Security Advisor, Babagana Munguno, assured of confluence of efforts, both political and military, for the safe return of those in captivity.
We have deployed additional 4 units of mobile policemen.
Federal government will apply everything at its disposal, both kinetic and non-kinetic, reconciliatory measures to get all the students back safely.
The Niger State Governor, Abakar Sani Bello, has briefed the delegation on the unfortunate incidents, saying their coming to the state indicates the federal government's concern. Emena Hussaina Musa, NTA News.
Well, thank you so much, Hussaina Musa. That was her report, not that of Anthony Forson. And we hear that the network is clear with Abdullahi, so let's go back to him to find out more on the Gagara abduction. So Abdullahi, it's over to you. Abdullahi, can you hear me? Okay, the network is still very, very poor, so let's just move on till we get it clear and done. Ways and means of sustaining the prevailing peace enterprise in Zamfara State dominated discussions as President Muhammadu Buhari granted audience to the State Governor Bello Muhammad Mutawalli. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
It was a closed-door engagement between President Muhammadu Buhari and Governor Bello Muhammad Mutawalli of Zamfara State. The meeting, which lasted about 1 hour, was in furtherance of efforts at achieving and sustaining peace, unity and stability across Nigeria for enhanced socio-economic development.
In terms of security, particularly in Nigeria, everybody knows what is happening today. But in Zamfara, we thank Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us peace in the state. We discussed much about it, and I appreciate his effort for what he has been doing to the state. Even today, about 358 special police forces were deployed to Zamfara State to tackle some challenges in the state. So we're on course.
Governor Bello Mutawalli maintains that the prevailing peace enterprise in the state is partly attributable to confidence-building measures and dialogue his administration initiated with bandits, which he believes is worth emulating. The governor also made a case for his colleagues in the country to embrace ranching, otherwise called the Ruga settlement scheme, towards putting a stop to open grazing, migration, and resultant conflicts between herders and farming communities.
Like the Ruga that we are doing, we have so many social amenities. We have schools, we have hospital, we have veterinary clinic, we have market, and we have even mini stadium that they can be doing their sharu like end of the year. And you can create like a dairy factory so that some income should be going to them. So, but if we allow them migrating from one place to another, that is where the problem is. But I believe very soon the Nigerian Governors Forum, we are going to discuss about that so that we can be able to know what action all the governors will take, and that will be the end of all the crises.
Governor Matawalli is one of the northern governors that recently visited southwest Nigeria following recent happenings in the region. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Abduction of school children in Nigeria is becoming a serious social problem. The latest being the incident in Government Science School, Agora, Niger State. Worried by the trend, the Senate has called on the President to declare a state of emergency on insecurity in Nigeria. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports.
Senate reconvened into a sober atmosphere at Wednesday's plenary, following the reports of the abduction of some students and teachers at Government Science School in Kagara, Niger State. Senator Sani Musa brought in the motion, which condemned the abduction and called for massive joint security operations to rescue the students, fish out the perpetrators and destroy their hideouts.
The President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, President Muhammad Buhari, GCFR, to consider and implement the recommendations of the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Nigerian Security Challenges, dated March 17, 2020, as a holistic response to the security challenges across the country.
I am sure everybody here has stories to tell about the security challenges that we are facing.
So there is need for our security agencies and government to ensure that we come up with a strategy of ensuring security in schools.
Meanwhile, the Zamfara State Caucus in the Senate briefed Senate correspondents.
Dialogue with the repentant bandits with the view to reintegrate them into the society. While the dagger approach was to ensure that the unrepentant bandits pays the full weight of the law.
Back to plenary, where the Senate, through a motion by Senator Ifeanyi, mandated its Committee on Marine Transport to intervene in the alleged exorbitant fees charged by shipping companies on Nigerian-bound cargoes. The bill to repeal the Quarantine Act and to enact the National Health Emergency Act, sponsored by Senator Chukwuka Otazi, and the Abuja Geographical Information System Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Hassan Mohammed, passed second reading.
Part 5 of the bill deals with the prevention of international spread of infectious diseases, where the President has reason to believe that a dangerous infectious disease may be introduced into Nigeria through international contacts.
We can pass this bill for the good of the people of the FCT and indeed Nigerians who will own property in the FCT so that they can have proper documentation.
Senate has confirmed the nomination of Ahohu Adolphus for appointment as the Auditor General for the Federation, with emphasis on the independence of the office. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
In the meantime, the House of Representatives wants other service chiefs designate to hit the ground running, which explains it's setting up a special ad hoc committee to screen the appointees nominated by the President. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports on the screening held Wednesday.
This special ad hoc committee, with membership drawn from the House Committees on Defense, Army, Air Force and Navy, believes the service chiefs designates have their jobs cut out for them in view of the myriad of security breaches in various shapes and forms in parts of the country. Chairman of the ad hoc committee acknowledged that Nigeria is blessed with brave and gallant soldiers, but the armed forces require a solution-oriented leadership.
From the inception of this ninth House of Representatives, national security has been discussed more than 200 times at plenary. Yet the nation is still grappling with diverse and increasing security challenges. despite some successes recorded by the gallant men and women of our armed forces.
Minister of Defense Bashir Magashiri assured that the armed forces is alert to its constitutional role and ready to checkmate security breaches.
We are prepared more than ever before to subordinate the military to the civil authority. That we will do in order to promote the cohesion and national unity in the country.
The four service chiefs designate Major General Lucky Rabo, Major General Ibrahim Atahiru, Rear Admiral Awal Gambu, and Air Vice Marshal Isiaka Mao for Defense, Army, Navy and Air Force respectively gave a brief on their vision.
I intend to see a very professional armed forces, an armed forces that is effective, an armed forces that is agile, an armed forces that is result-oriented, and of course, that is loyal to constituted authority.
Loyalty and sacrifice to the fatherland. Dependability will be on the Nigerian Army capacity and capability to accomplish mission.
Leverage on all factors of national location, technology, training, teamwork, and synergy to re-energize the Nigerian Navy and enhance her as a well-motivated and ready naval force.
Ensure the integrity of SPs by gaining and maintaining control of the air while retaining a credible capability to fulfill other air power tasks demanded by national defense and security imperatives.
The screening was conducted behind closed doors. The ad hoc committee that conducted the screening of the service chiefs is expected to submit a report containing recommendations on the confirmation of the service chiefs to the House for consideration and approval. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
In another development, the Federal Executive Council has approved over 60 billion naira for the construction, rehabilitation and completion of critical roads infrastructure in the Federal Capital Territory and other parts of the country for enhanced socio-economic development. Works and Housing Minister Babatunde Fashola and his FCT counterpart Mohammed Musa Bello announced this while briefing journalists after the council's meeting. State House correspondent Adam Sambo reports that funds have also been approved for improved water supply.
President Muhammadu Buhari presided over the meeting, 5th for the year 2021 and 34th to be held virtually in compliance with the COVID-19 safety advisory. 11 memoranda were considered and approved by the council, out of which 5 emanated from the FCT.
The 5 memos presented all have to do with infrastructure.
The minister, Muhammad Musa Bello, said out of the 30 billion naira approved for roads in the FCT, 3.4 billion is to open up sections of the institution and research district of Abuja, while 1.8 billion naira for the construction of access road and car park for the light rail station at Kagini.
Kagini is a community just by the Kubwa Expressway. And that access road is to link the station with the Kubwa Expressway so that commuters coming into the city from that northern flank can use the facilities of the station to use the Abuja light rail into the city. The third memo, which is for infrastructure, is an augmentation of the existing contract for the Southern Parkway, which is the road under construction currently that commences from the Christian Center right through the NTA and busting out at the Ring Road in Kaura district.
Still in the FCT, 1.4 billion naira is to be expended on the rehabilitation of Buhari Law School Road through Kuchiko to Ija and 3.5 billion naira for Kase Feeder Road at Gwagwalada.
It's a road that is about 15 kilometers, including one bridge of 50 meters.
Works and Housing Minister Babatunde Fashola was also granted approval for the completion of Benin Ore, Ajegbandele Shagamu Road at 22.8 billion naira, as well as 4.6 billion naira for the construction of a 9-way underground cable and telecommunication facility dock along Akwanga Kefi Makurdi Highway.
The third one
was for the design and development of an automation process for the issuance of certificates of occupancy in respect of federal government lands. And the final one was for the construction of 4 by 20 meter span bridge at kilometer 18 along Langtang Wase Road in Plateau State for 2.867 billion.
Fika Gadaka Water Supply Project in Yobe State started in 2003 and abandoned in 2007 is to be completed at 551.1 million naira.
We've taken a policy in the ministry that going forward, as much as possible, we'll be using solar systems to power our water schemes. And accordingly, this was done in the case of this project, plus also an extension of the pipeline to cover more areas, because between 2003 and now, obviously the two towns would have expanded.
The council has also approved the extension of consultancy services for the supervision of Jerry Earth Dam project in Katsina State, revised for completion in 2018 at 310 million naira. In the meantime, the council observed a moment of silence in honor of the late Chief Lateef Jokande, former governor of Lagos State, who served as Minister of Works under the Abacha administration. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Up ahead on News Extra, Orthodox Christians begin 40 days of spiritual rejuvenation as an Amazon joins the Golden Age Club with doses of eulogy and outpour of well wishes trailing. Then I leave you to guess as we take our first break. Join us again. Good to have you back. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu says the Commission plans additional polling units before the next general elections to avoid congestion during voting, while availing voters the opportunity for observing COVID-19 protocols. Hassan Law reports that the chairman stated this at a meeting with members of the Arewa Consultative Forum in Kaduna.
According to the INEC chairman, since 1996, the number of polling units were more than 120,000 to serve 50 million voters, and in 1999, the number of eligible voters exceeded 84 million with the same polling units.
We contacted all groups nationwide, and some have started giving us dates. One of the associations or groups that has given us a date is the Area Consultative Forum. So we just see the opportunity of the meeting of the organs to come and brief them. But going forward, we'll also interact with all other sociocultural associations as they give us dates nationwide.
We also understand the explanations. So considering what they have, the fact that since 1996, the polling units have not been increased, we think that it's necessary for the convenience of democracy.
Professor Yakubu says the organization will continue with the interaction across all stakeholders. In Kaduna, I am Hassan Lawan Shatima, NTA News.
And from Kaduna, we head to Lagos. Illegal activities along the Lagos waterfront have persisted, posing environmental, security and maritime challenges for water transportation. To change this narrative, an enforcement team of the federal government has begun demolition of illegal structures along the coastline. Dr. Ogunyemi has the report.
These are illegal shanties constructed along the Lagos coastline of Lekki. Although they have been illegally occupied for years, the clearance and demolition became necessary following the expiration of an eviction notice over concerns of security threats and navigational challenges posed to maritime activities.
We discovered that most of all these area boys, these bad boys, if they commit their atrocity on the highway there, they use this place as their hideout.
And at the same time, blocking the navigable channels in Lagos State. So we feel that it can no longer be tolerated. After this, the Lagos area office will take possession of it because it's for us within our right of way. We will now decide what government can do with it.
The National Inland Waterways Enforcement Team also raided some areas in Ikoyi and Banana Island where illegal land reclamation has persisted despite warnings. The enforcement, according to NIWA, continues as the agency has served eviction notices to illegal occupants of areas along the vast Lagos coastline. In Lagos, Dotun Ogunyemi, NTA News.
National monuments play important role in preserving the integrity of nations and are also symbols of pride that enable people appreciate the past better. One of such monuments is the Olojoba, demolished in 2016. The monument is about to be rebuilt after an agreement signed by the parties involved. Adeola Komiakere reports.
The 161-year-old Olojoba on Lagos Island, precisely at the Tinubu Square, happens to be a national monument that suffered a deadly blow. Originally known as Casa de Fernandez Restaurant and Bar by its original owner, the Fernandez family, it was sold to the late Alfred Olaya.
The Brazilian house was bought by my grandfather, Alfred Olaya. He saw it in the paper dailies, advertising it for sales by the Ivan and Bonner solicitors. Then they made a competitive for the buying, which it fell on my grandfather. Our bid is the highest, and they paid for it. I wrote it down at his name, and that was in 1934. My grandfather never lived in the house. We went back to Calabar, where he was staying.
The building, after 100 years, was declared a national monument and handed over to the National Commission for Museums and Monuments. The historic Brazilian-style architecture was sadly demolished in 2016 by some family members and developers. A lawsuit instituted in 2018 dragged on until the new Director General of the National Commission for Museums and Monuments, Professor Abba Tijani, came on board.
It's very unfortunate that this building was brought down. It was a magnificent building in the Brazilian architectural style, and we thought that that building needs to be put back again, so that people will see the beauty of such a monument in the heart of Lagos.
Then an MOU was signed to the delight of all parties involved. The signing of the MOU also means there must be an out-of-court settlement. Former occupants and neighbor of the Brazilian structure share memories of the building, what they felt after its demolition, and their thoughts on another building replacing it.
When we reached that stage, I was feeling very happy that my children, my grandchildren, happens to know about that place.
I live in the building since I was 8 years old. I'm so happy that I'll be very happy that God gave me the life to see it in the mighty name of Allah.
It's paying us where this kind of monument is demolished. It's one of the commercial something that make Nigeria great. Make Lagos State great, apart from this Tinubu square.
The building will have some commercial, outfit so that it can generate revenue. So for the family and the property developers that are going to put up the structure. And then the museum will have a gallery where we'll do an exhibition and we'll look after the monument where it is being restored. So it is really a good thing in this center of Lagos, like this place, to have such kind of a monument put back again.
One of the artifacts preserved from the demolition, the angel that adorned the top of the building, was presented to the museum for safekeeping at the signing of the MOU. In Lagos, Adeola Komiakere, NTA News.
An amazing development there. Spells of drought on the heels of climate prediction is usually dreaded by household farmers who know little or nothing about how to avoid losses. This farming season may not be as frustrating even when it is coming with a drought period of at least 5 weeks. You want to know why? Well, Abdullah Mohammed will guide us.
So the highlights of this year is that there will be dry spell, which may span in some places up to about 5 weeks.
This is bad news for Adamu and Usman, farmers whose practice is guided by unscientific assumptions and predictions. But for now, the most important task before them is clearing their farmlands in anticipation of the showers from above. Showers they are not certain of its arrival.
I am expecting rainwater, I think maybe after 3 months.
Just like Adamu and Usman, Nigeria has about 40 million household farmers who are expected to be informed about how to maneuver against the short spell of drought that we expect this rainy season. To one of the cradles of extension services I headed. This is one of the places foot soldiers who are responsible for putting the records of the patterns of rainfall straight to the likes of Adamu and Usman are groomed. The executive director of these outstanding institution, Professor Emmanuel Ikani, came with bold ideas he says have helped in separating the stones from the grains.
We normally train what we call the extension agents, who are actually the TOT, or what we call the TOT, training the trainer. Then it trickles down to the farmers. Then we back it up with publications. We back it up with mass media. We back it up with agric broadcast. And these things are done in the language that is peculiar to all the zones. We speak to our farmers in their mother tongues.
This is just one of the several methods the men who do the town crying job in remote places do to sustain Nigeria's drive for food security. And with the drums of the town criers taken on villages to villages, there is high hopes that millions of farmers in the fold of Adamu and Usman will soon get the latest gist on this year's rainfall pattern. In Abuja, Abdullahi Muhammad, NTA News.
We also can't wait to get the latest gist. Christian faithful have been enjoined to use the period of Lent to repent of their wrongdoings, rededicate themselves to God, and seek His mercies through intense fasting and prayer for peace and unity in the country. Veronica Emmanuel reports that Reverend Jacob Ibitan of NTA Chapel of Resurrection made the appeal in his sermon during the Ash Wednesday service that commences the Lent season.
Ash Wednesday is a spiritual exercise that ushers in the 40 days fasting and prayers of the Lenten period. Explaining the significance of the religious practice, the clergy say it is a way of reminding Christians that dust they are and unto dust they shall return.
Ashes is an ancient custom which is a symbol of penitence, a symbol of sense of worthlessness, that whatever you think you are is God that made you, a sign that you are dust, and unto dust you will return, teaching us to be humble.
Margaret, Stephen, and other worshippers are full of expectations during the period as they pledge commitment to renewal of their lives.
It's the time of us drawing closer to God Almighty to seek for His mercies and forgiveness.
What we need to do, go through a little of what He went through.
It's time for us to sit back and see how well we fared. God called us to certain assignments. Are we really walking in line with His will? So for me, it's really a time I sit back and reflect on my life and see how well I've fared and make amends.
This ancient tradition, the clergy also say, is to remind mankind on the sufferings of Jesus Christ for the redemption of the world. In Abuja, Veronica Emmanuel, NTA News.
Now, the All Progressives Congress has celebrated with the wife of the President and Nigeria's First Lady, Aisha Buhari, on the occasion of her 50th birthday. In a statement, APC Chairman, Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee, Governor Mai Malabuni, described the First Lady as a strong advocate of community mobilization, economic empowerment of women and the well-being and education of children through the Future Assured initiative she founded. APC in the statement acknowledged that the First Lady has been a strong pillar to the leader of the party, President Muhammadu Buhari, and the APC, particularly the women's wing. And on behalf of other Nigerian women and children, Women Affairs Minister Pauline Talon prays that the Almighty will make the First Lady flourish beyond measures, says she will not be limited in accomplishing laudable feats as she continues her selfless service towards humanity. And from the family of the NTA, the Director General Yakubu Ibu Mohammed, on behalf of himself, Board of Management and the entire workforce, joins numerous loved ones and admirers in wishing the First Lady a glorious birthday. He prays God to continue to guide, protect and give her the needed longevity to continue to serve him and humanity in robust health. Similarly, the Director General, National Center for Women Development, celebrates the First Lady Aisha Buhari and described her as a benefactor and an excellent mother. The Director General commended the unflinching commitment of the First Lady at 50 towards empowering women politically and economically, particularly in protecting the rights of women and girls by speaking out against sexual and gender-based violence. Another breather beckons, but when we return, we shall tell you who has been on the move, spreading messages of peace, a bit on the aftermath of Shasha and the cushioning effect of victims. Stay with us. Welcome back. Nigerian stock market striving to remain the toast of investors. Let's get details of this and more from Comfort Amadou. Good to see you again.
Thank you very much, Fatih. And anti-graft agencies calls for the establishment of a specialized crimes court to tackle issues of illicit financial flows, laundering and all forms of corrupt practices in the country. These and other key issues hampering the growth and development of the Nigerian economy took center stage at an interactive session with the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption, a meeting held virtually with key players in the anti-corruption crusade. And the meeting reviewed the process of the anti-corruption fight and the way forward with special attention to cryptocurrency.
It's an enabler for money laundering and terrorist financing. If it is a means of money laundering, a means of terrorist financing, then it's a big problem. Therefore, in between comes in the CSOs, PACAC, the media. What can we do so that we tidy up the matter of currency, our cryptocurrency, so that it becomes useful to our citizens and is not used for the wrong reasons?
Jewelries, gold, dollars, pounds, houses, estate, cars have been recovered. Nobody is giving any information because you have multiple agencies that are doing this recovery, from police to EFCC to ICPC to NLD to so many of them, custom. We need to have synergy. We need to have coordinated approach.
Now, despite the economic impact of COVID-19, the Nigerian economy has remained resilient, with the stock market striving to remain the toast of investors. Director General of the NTA, Yakubu Ibu Mohammed, said this when he led the virtual sounding of the closing gong to mark the end of the trading day of the Nigerian stock market this Wednesday. The Director General of NTA, Malam Yakubu Ibu Mohammed, notes that although the market has been in red, it hopes that his participation will turn the fortunes of the market.
The NTA has been a partner of the capital market in providing uninterrupted dissemination of information to the public since the late 1980s. As the Nigerian Stock Exchange goes about supporting listed companies through raising capital and investing them, We have watched the Nigerian Stock Exchange grow its fortunes from its modest beginning in 1961 with a volume of about 80,500 British pounds, a total of around 38.5 trillion naira, with 1,328 companies in active status today.
And still staying with the capital market, investors sustained a losing streak in the capital market. The all-share index contracted by 0.07% to close at 40,465.32 basis points, as against minus 0.19% depreciation recorded previously. And its year-to-date returns presently at plus 0.48%. FBN Holdings, Transcorp and Guarantee were the most active to boost the market turnover. All right, Fatih, I know you still have extra news for us.
Yes, I do. I have a whole lot.
Take it away.
Thank you so much, Comfort, for the business package. Now, a leading dairy company in West Africa, Fan Milk PLC, has taken another giant step to expand its investment portfolios in Nigeria by signing a memorandum of understanding with the Ogun State government to boost local production of dairy products in the state. Lekon Agbode reports.
The partnership agreement between Fan Milk PLC, a Donald company, and Ogun State government is to step up global requirements in dairy farming, create job opportunities, and by extension empower local communities. The expansion will also boost the impact of the federal government initiative in achieving food sufficiency in the country and serves as model in supporting local suppliers, purchasing feed locally, and collecting milk directly from farmers.
The idea is to develop the production of local cows. For the time being, local cows produce a very limited quantity of milk, much less than in France or in Europe. And there are many techniques to increase and develop this productivity. So the aim is for Fan Milk to be able to produce their yogurt or ice cream with more local products, and that will reduce the import for Nigeria, that will save hard currency for Nigeria, and that will also create jobs for Nigerian people. So I think it is really a win-win situation for everyone.
Which is to create a focused and qualitative governance whilst creating an enabling environment for a public-private sector partnership.
Chairman Fan Milk Olayinka Akikugbe says more job seekers will be engaged to expand production of dairy products locally.
This is an opportunity for us, starting with this dairy backward integration, to move further into the country to expand our business.
The establishment of Fan Milk Donald Dairy Training Institute at Odeda in Odeda local government area of the state, according to the company, will train local dairy farmers on the international best practices of dairy farming. Incorporated in 1960, Fan Milk PLC, a Donald company, began production of local nutrition, dairy, and juice food products in Nigeria since 1963. In Abeokuta, Lekon Agbonde, NTA News.
And beneficiaries of the federal government's MSME payroll grant under the Alimosho local government area in Lagos State have been testifying to the usefulness of the grant in sustaining their businesses, especially during COVID-19. Awal Yusuf Jibo reports the grant is provided by the Bank of Industry, whose aim is to render financial assistance to large, medium and small projects.
Wodu Uchechukwu, a manufacturer, and Chizoba Mude, a teacher, are among the beneficiaries of the federal government's MSME Survival Fund payroll support.
I got so many calls from all the staff, and they got series of funds, and we were all happy when we saw that all our staffs were really happy receiving those funds.
Really appreciate God for federal government for wiping away our tears, because when the pandemic came, in fact, we didn't know what to do.
The federal government initiative began in September 2020 with the sum of 7.5 billion naira grant
to help businesses at risk due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This sounded too good to be true for Nicholas Johnson and many others like him.
Despite the doubt here and there, but it's better to take a step and fail than not taking a step at all. We tried the process. We got our staff. Not all of them believed in it. For the few of us that believed in it, they gave us our BVN. They got registered, and before you knew it, the amount started coming in.
This gathering of people is an engagement between Bank of Industry and beneficiaries to get feedback on how impactful the initiative has been and to reaffirm the federal government's commitment to supporting businesses and livelihood following the economic impact of COVID-19.
But I've also had the Artisan Support Fund, which was a one-time 30,000 grant that went to artisans. So there's also the Guaranteed Off-Taker Fund that is being rolled out. And then there's another component that helps businesses register business names for free. So these are several components that are also still being rolled out.
Since inception of the MSME Survival Fund, payroll support of between 30,000 naira to 50,000 naira have been given to 332,205 employees from 51,435 businesses across several sectors in Nigeria. In Lagos, Awol Yusuf Jibo, NTA News.
And succor has come the way of some of the victims affected by the ethnic crisis at Shasha area, with cash relief of 18.5 million naira provided by the Kano State Governor Abdullahi Ganduje. Correspondent Shala Wahid has the report.
Following the crisis that erupted between traders in Shasha Market, which led to the looting and burning of houses and shops, the Kano State government has given out 100,000 naira each to 185 affected Kano indigenes. Representatives of Kano State government said the money is meant to bring succor to the victims so that they can sustain themselves pending the time a lasting solution will be preferred.
So we are trying as much as possible. We have their list, we have their telephone numbers, and we will try as much as possible to trace them.
Some of them are wearing only one clothes because of the situations. They left the market abruptly, so they are not in a position to even get another clothes to wear. So
to give them support, because many are saying they don't even have a penny in their pocket even to eat because all their properties were burned down.
Kano State government urged everyone to shun violence and imbibe the spirit of loving one another to strengthen harmonious relationship in the country. The team also interacted with some of the victims to know their challenges and complaints for any further intervention from the Kano State governor. In Ibadan, Shola Wahid, NTA News.
In the meantime, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has promised to provide relief materials to households displaced by the recent Shasha crisis. This came to the fore during the agency's assessment visit to the scene of the incident in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. Grace Bamidele has the details.
Still counting their losses to the unfortunate incident, the victims expressed displeasure while calling on government for assistance. Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, represented, appealed to the two ethnic groups at Shasha to embrace peace and live in oneness as they were known for before the crisis.
The team you are seeing here is to further strengthen the team on ground in Ibadan, to carry out detailed damage assessment of the destruction that took place in this market, with a view to submitting its report for rehabilitation by federal government.
The relief items, which would include food and non-food items for the rehabilitation of all affected persons, are presently being processed to be distributed directly at locations identified within Ibadan Metropolis. Earlier, at a meeting with the state government, the governor, represented by his deputy, promised maximum support during the assessment and eventual distribution exercise in Ibadan. Grace Bamidele, NTA News.
The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, has sympathized with families of the children who died in Zamfara Wednesday while playing with an explosive. In a statement, the minister expressed sadness that at least 6 children who reportedly went in search of firewood in a bush located in Magami village in Maradun local government area of Zamfara state died, while playing with the explosives. Sadia Omar Farouk described the death of the innocent children as untimely and heartbreaking, while calling on the concerned authorities to ensure that explosives don't get into the wrong hands. And former Minister of Communications Adebayo Shitu says the regulation of social media platforms will serve as an effective tool in containing rising cases of crimes and other forms of insecurity threatening the corporate existence of the country. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports that the former minister is speaking against the negative role of social media in the breach of peace in Shasha, Oyo State.
Negative use of the social media has caused many countries huge losses, including human lives, and Nigeria is not an exception. The former Minister of Communications, Shitu Adebayo, condemned the role of social media platforms in escalating the Shasha crisis in Oyo State through misinformation and sharing of fake pictures. He called for the regulation and enforcement of social media platforms under the jurisdiction of law and other legal procedures.
Those who put up falsehood, which is capable of, bringing about insecurity in the country or in the society, must be held responsible for the consequences of their indiscretions. So I am, appealing very strongly that government cannot afford to shy away from its initial effort to bring about regulation to social media.
Adebayo Shitu decried the decline in moral values and appealed for ethical reorientation to turn the tide of social media-induced crisis. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
Two cultural giants, the Nigerian Television Authority NTA and the National Council for Arts and Culture, are playing the part of town crier by expanding the anti-rape campaign and taking the message across Nigeria as they prepare to inaugurate a committee which will set out all the modalities. Naja'atu Tijani reports.
It's a meeting of two cultural giants who use traditional and new means of spreading information to preserve national unity by promoting cultural values. Handing over this frame made from materials symbolizing Nigeria's cultural values and hope for a rape-free future, the Nigerian Television Authority (NTA) and the National Council for Arts and Culture are on a mission to put a stop to what the Director General Otumba Olusegun Runshewe calls a pandemic.
Sometimes the victim of rape become victimized. So it is time we must come together to say no to rape as a people. NTA being the biggest and the largest television network in Africa will be the best partners to convey this message to all over the country.
For the NTA, which is passionate about seeing an end to the menace, even showing support to victims with an aggressive campaign which started in 2020, the timing is apt and warrants the formation of a committee.
That, the confidence reposed in us by Nigerians through Mr. President is justified, and this is one way of doing it.
Statistics show that there was an increase in gender-based violence and rape of vulnerable groups, including boys and men, and the soon-to-be inaugurated committee is also expected to lead the media, which Director General of the NTA, Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, says will reflect the moral values of the nation. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
Sure, it would, Naja. The court marshal of the FRSC, Boboye Oyeyemi, has embarked on advocacy against conveyance of animals and humans in trailers from the north to southern part of the country. To this end, the court marshal visited the Sokoto State Governor and the Sultan of Sokoto. Sheikh Mohammed Detti has the report.
The Co-Marshal Dr. Boboye Oyeyemi was moved to embark on the advocacy by the increase in the rate of road crashes by such trailers, leading to loss of lives and property.
We have observed a serious increase in crashes. By the end of last year, Your Excellency, we recorded a total of 669 crashes involving these trucks carrying animals and human beings. And the funniest thing is that with this, we also lost 457 lives.
Governor Amin Waziri Tambol described the visit as a launching pad of the advocacy, saying state government must collaborate in stopping the menace of merging animals with humans on trucks along the nation's highways. He noted that law will be formulated to sanction defaulters, adding that traditional institutions will be engaged in the advocacy process to guarantee success.
It's important for us to save lives, and we must not lose any single life due to our non-observance of either traffic rules and regulations.
The co-marshal was also at the Sultan Palace, where he called on the Sultan to intervene through enlightening the masses at grassroots on the dangers associated with overloading and other road traffic offences. Sultan Muhammad Saad, while welcoming the advocacy, challenged the co-marshal to reach out to all the relevant stakeholders with a view to giving the matter a holistic approach. He called on the federal government to provide more railway lines across the country to reduce dependence on the roads. Addressing staff of the Corps in Sokoto State, Co-Marshal Oyeyemi challenged them to remain committed in enforcing traffic rules as well as compliance with the executive order on COVID-19 protocols. In Sokoto, Shu Muhammad Datti, NTA News.
So far, so good. The next segment takes us into the world of COVID-19 and another equally dreaded disease threatening to rear its ugly head, and efforts at keeping it at bay. We shall tell you about these and more after this interval. To stay with us. Thanks for staying. News just reaching us says Governor Abubakar Sani Bello has formally briefed President Muhammadu Buhari over the recent attack on Government Science College Gagara in Rafi local government area of Niger State. The governor, who visited the affected area on a fact-finding visit, brought the president up to speed on efforts at rescuing the abducted students as well as ensuring that perpetrators are brought to justice. President Buhari, who had promptly dispatched a team of security chiefs to coordinate the rescue operations, expressed serious concern over the loss of a student in the unfortunate incident and promised not to relent until normalcy is restored in the nation's security situation. Governor Sani Bello told NTA News that his engagement with the president was fruitful and reassuring.
I came in this evening to thank Mr. President for his quick response to the plight of Nigerians following two serious abductions, kidnap incidences. And at the same time, we rubbed minds on what we think should be done so that we find an everlasting solution to it. Mr. President has confirmed to me that this matter will be given proper attention, and we'll continue engaging the service chiefs at the federal so that we can guide them and advise them on what we think should be done. So I think it was a wonderful meeting this evening.
So having met the president, what assurance can you give to Kagara community and the entire Nigerites?
To be honest, I'm very convinced from what Mr. President told me, and I feel I have seen the presence of the military in Kagara. I was there earlier on today, and I also request for some additional personnel and equipment, which I believe will be granted any moment from now. Right now, our immediate priority is to get the kidnapped victims released. After that, I think we must have a long-lasting solution to the farmers-herdsmen conflict.
Do you subscribe to the recent call by the Senate for the declaration of a state of emergency on security in this country?
Well, at the moment, if you look at what is happening, we're having security challenges in almost every part of the country. So yes, I agree there is a need to install some form of emergency on security matters across board. So yes, I think the Senate acted in good faith. Something definitely needs to be done.
Well, that was the Niger State Governor. Now, COVID-19 is not a disease that can be treated in any healthcare facility, but only those certified by the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and CDC. The Federal Medical Center, Ondo State, is one of such and the only referral center for COVID-19 patients in Ondo State. Toyin Batire was on a tour around the medical facility and reports that the hospital is now better positioned to serve the people.
The environment here is beautiful and the atmosphere calm, but this 32-year-old facility is in the crucial business of saving lives, especially in this pandemic period. The Federal Medical Center in Ondo State is the only medical facility approved by the federal government as a diagnostic and treatment center for COVID-19 and Lassa fever in Ondo and Ekiti states. The coronavirus pandemic that's taken the world by storm may not totally be all about bad news. The case of the Federal Medical Center Ondo State speaks of the good news in COVID-19.
If you look at the dialysis center there, we have assistance from various bodies, starting from NCDC, then the state government, as well as Federal Ministry of Health. We have been able to complete another isolation center. With the money released by Federal Government of Nigeria, we have equipped it, ready to move in.
The hospital has indeed benefited from the huge attention to COVID-19, especially with the state-of-the-art molecular testing laboratories, isolation centers, and increased number of ventilators. Since last year, when the pandemic started in Nigeria, the hospital has conducted 8,100 COVID-19 tests, out of which 1,059 came out positive and 154 cases active. 7 patients are currently on admission at the hospital's isolation center.
Come here often to even ask about my, is there any complaint? Is there anything? Do I need anything? I feel much better now.
Nurses and doctors speak of a conducive environment they work in, with adequate state-of-the-art equipment as well as provision of personal protective equipment.
It's been challenging. We are committed to it and we are very dedicated to the job. So by the time we see our patients going back home, ill and healthy, we feel happy about it.
Right from this place, we can hold meetings with other collaborators in research, even in case management and every other thing that we need to know outside the country. So all the facilities for teleconferencing is within this facility.
The management of the hospital says with new facilities, the hospital can now provide specialized treatment of patients suffering other serious conditions apart from COVID-19 and Lassa fever. In Ondo State, Toyin Batire, NTA News.
Following the resurgence of Ebola in Guinea last week, a red alert system has been put in place by port health officials at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, to prevent the importation of the virus and other infectious diseases into the country. Aviation correspondent Emmanuel Anyimiro reports that the issue of false declaration on the information portal capable of misleading health officials by arriving passengers is also being addressed.
What entails here is that every passenger that just arrived is expected to submit a travel document for confirmation as whether or not such passenger has a permit to travel after conducting the compulsory PCR test for COVID-19.
A passenger with a temperature considered not within the normal range is subjected to a secondary check, particularly now that Nigeria is making efforts at tackling infectious diseases.
We have put in place additional measures to capture Ebola in the course of surveillance. Okay, so We have updated the health declaration form. We have on the portal, we have sensitized the teams on ground. We've sent out point of entry alerts to stakeholders.
Fake COVID-19 test has been a trending issue. What is the latest?
So for inbound passengers coming in with fake results, we're putting something on the portal now that will check the PCR test results that have been uploaded, and we will remotely contact the labs and get a feedback as to the status of that PCR test result. And the fake result is detected, they must complete the registration, pay for the day 7 test, and then we hand them over to aviation security, the crime unit.
The fact that children less than 10 years old and diplomats are exempted from payment of in-country tests has led to several misinformation and falsehood on the portal.
So for non-diplomats, the diplomatic status is removed so that they can now choose a lab and pay for the D7 test. And then those for adults, adults who register as children, they're also made to match, to edit the information on the portal to match the age that is on their passport, their international passport. After then, they also choose a lab and then make payments, and then they can proceed on their trip.
Those planning to evade required tests has Abuja Mobile Court waiting for them. Emmanuel Ayemiro, NTA News.
To sports now. Super Falcons set to meet CSKA Moscow in the Turkish Women Cup. Details on our sports update.
Super Falcons will on Thursday morning begin the chase for Turkish Invitational Women's Cup against CSKA Moscow in Antalya, Turkey. The Nigeria senior women's team, which arrived Turkey on Monday alongside its technical crew, have intensified preparations after undergoing a compulsory COVID-19 test on Tuesday. The match is the first since assumption of coach Randy Waldrum. Still on football, as the Nigeria Professional Football League prepares for match day 11 across the country, the Nigeria Football Federation has reassured on its commitment towards ensuring that all laid down guidelines for COVID-19 regulations are strictly adhered to by all the clubs. NFF Task Force Committee on COVID-19 promised not to leave any stone unturned in saving the lives of players and officials.
We have started going around and to ensure that the protocol are being observed, and then we are having total support from the teams as well as the state FAs and the leagues itself.
To tennis now. In the Australian Open, former world #1 Rafael Nadal failed to reach the 2021 semi-finals as the Spaniard lost 6-3, 6-2, 6-7, 4-6, 5-7 to Stefano Tsitsipas, who will now meet Daniil Medvedev on Friday. And that's sports updates. I am Tamara Ebiwe.
A 3-day Fidal prayer was offered in Yola in honor of late Hajia Mariam Ahmadu Gogosong, a stepmother to the First Lady Aisha Buhari. Buhari Nafisa Abdullahi Dembos reports.
Hundreds of sympathizers trooped into Yola to commiserate with the family of the First Lady on the death of Mariam Ahmadu Gogosong, who died recently at the age of 89. The deceased was described as humble and God-fearing, whose contributions to the family and her immediate community will be greatly missed.
Everybody is her child. Let's learn a lesson from her. A great leader to us, is a pillar in our family. We lost her, we miss her.
Very big detress. This is a national loss for every child because of her caring.
She constantly prayed for me and supported me.
A 3-day Fiddaw prayer was offered for Allah to grant her into Jannatul Fiddaws and to comfort the family she left behind. Hajia Mariam Ahmadu died last Saturday in Abuja after a brief illness. She is survived by 3 children, including Musa Halilu Ahmed Chiroma, Dujima Adamawa, and was a stepmother to the First Lady, Aisha Muhammadu Buhari. In Yola, Nafisatu Abdul Hamid Dembos, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the First Lady Aisha Buhari has expressed appreciation to all those who sent messages of condolence on the passing of Hajia Mariam Ahmadu, which happened on Saturday, February 13, 2021. The First Lady says she appreciates the outpour of emotions from Nigerians from all walks of life at this sad moment through the expression of sympathy and words of condolence. She therefore wishes to appreciate the kind gesture and thank all for sharing with her family at this moment of grief and in their efforts to comfort them. While her family prays God to grant their mother eternal rest, the First Lady also prays for peace and national cohesion in their country. In the meantime, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Bas Mustafa, has condoled the government and people of Lagos State over the passing of former Governor Lateef Kayode Jakande. In a condolence letter to the Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, SGF Bas Mustafa described Alhaji Jakande as fine gentleman and notable journalist who distinguished himself remarkably in the development of Nigeria. He noted that the country has lost a rare gem whose politics was laced with convictions, selflessness, and without bitterness. He prayed God to grant him eternal rest. Similarly, SGF Bas Mustafa condoled with the people and government of Adamawa State over the passing of the former Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Gambo Jimeta. He praised his dedication, brilliance, and relentlessness as Inspector General of Police, National Security Advisor, and Minister of Agriculture under different dispensations. The SGF is praying for the repose of the soul of the departed, noted his devotion and patriotism to the growth of Nigeria. And on that note, we conclude News Extra for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I am Fatima Omaruba. Please stay safe.